Hey there, good morning. I'm Connie Fuchsa with Foote Title Group. Welcome to Coffee with Connie. I'm a little bit later today than typically we try to get on and talk to you because we had a managers meeting this morning to go over a couple of things that are coming up that I want to share with you in just a minute. I apologize for being a little bit behind, and I thank you so much for tuning in. First, let me say thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to tune in with me for Coffee with Connie. Good morning, my friend Pam. How are you today? Thanks so much for tuning in. What I want to do is invite all of you that are watching to please check in and say hi. Helps me understand who I'm talking to so I know what kind of information to share with you. And it also helps me by figuring out what kind of messages you need, and then you can ask questions, and that helps me out more than I can possibly tell you, because I can talk about things that we experience all the time, but it helps me so much more when I understand things that you don't understand. And there's so many other people. If you have a question, then you are probably not the only one that has that question. So thanks so much for your time tuning in. And if you're tuning in on the replay, wow, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch too, because there's just so much information I want to share with you, and I really appreciate your time. Good morning, Karen. How are you today? Happy anniversary a day late. 30 years is pretty impressive. Big deal there. So happy anniversary and congratulations to you guys. So this morning I wanted to say hi, talk to you a little bit more about this topic we've been talking about home ownership and protecting it. You spend a lot of time going to find the right house and going to find the right lender that you're going to work with to share all your financial information so you can borrow the money to buy that perfect house. But what are you doing to protect that house? And I know you may say, well, gosh, I have homeowners insurance, and that's going to protect me if we have a fire or a flood or a hurricane, or we something happens and someone breaks into our house and steals some things that we have that protection. But how are you protecting your ownership? That's a question for you. So what does that actually mean, protecting your ownership? I didn't even know there was such a thing. Well, do you want to make sure that if anybody comes to you after the closing and says, hey, you have a lien on this property that was actually owed to me and that was never taken care of, and now you owe it because you own the house. And you say, my gosh, what are you talking about? So then you can go back to who did the closing and say, hey, why didn't you take care of this? Well, there may be a valid answer for that, but what I want to impress upon you is there is a protection that you can get to protect you, to make sure that you never have to worry about that. You don't have to go find an attorney. You don't have to deal with the bank or the lien holder to take care of what that issue is. So that protection is called title insurance, and title insurance covers you for as long as you own the property. There's only a one-time fee, there's no additional cost for it, and there's no deductible. Imagine that. So I paused there because, wow, who ever heard of insurance that doesn't have a deductible, right? So yeah, title insurance has no deductible. It covers you for that one-time fee for as long as you own the property. Now that sounds like, wow, that sounds like it's going to be really expensive. It's not. It is a percentage based on what your sales price is. Now, what I wanted to explain to you today is there's a difference between the lender's protection and your protection. So when you get insurance for other things that you own, including your home, if you owe someone on that property, the lender has to be listed on that insurance so that they're taken care of first. In the title insurance world, there's two different types. There's title insurance that protects you. Good morning, Tony. Thank you so much for tuning in. There's title insurance that protects you, and there's title insurance that protects the lender. So now why does that matter? Well, the title insurance that the lender gets specifically protects them for as long as their loan exists, and only up to that loan amount. The owner's title insurance covers you for as long as you own that property, and as you continue to make payments on that mortgage and the values in the neighborhood increase on that property, then your value or your insurance protection increases because it covers you for your equity. Now, when you buy a house initially, you may put down a very minimal amount of money, several $1,000s. Let's say under $10,000, and you put that amount of money down and you say, well, gosh, that's not really a lot of money. Well, first of all, how hard was it for you to come up with that under $10,000? If you had $5,000 and that was all you had to your name because you saved it to find that perfect house, That money is worth $100,000 to someone else. That is your money. And that owner's title insurance will protect your interest, which is that investment that you put in. The lender's title insurance protects the lender only, that their mortgage will be repaid if there is an issue with the ownership of that property. Now, when you actually purchase a home and you borrow money from a lender to be able to purchase that home, the lender requires the title insurance policy for their protection. Why? Because they want to make sure their loan is secure for as long as you are borrowing that money. So they want to make sure that nothing can affect it. They require they're on your homeowner's insurance policy. They require all types of steps to be taken. They have you sign all kinds of documents to make sure that loan is going to be good in full force, that you have that protection. And they also require they get protection by use of a title insurance policy to make sure that their interest in that property is covered for as long as that loan exists. So wouldn't it make sense if the lender requires absolutely, unequivocally, whenever they do a loan, they require that they get a title insurance policy? Wouldn't it make sense that if a lender who has a big stake in your property requires that you should do it as well? And the reason I bring this up is because owner's title insurance is optional. And when we talk about that with people, a lot of people say, oh, well, I'm not gonna do that, because, it can be a couple $1,000s when you purchase your home. And that can be part of an expense that you maybe had decided when you're sitting there talking about it, that maybe you say, well, I could use that money somewhere else. Well, how would it be if you use that money to go buy a new washer and dryer and someone comes and makes an ownership claim, and the washer and dryer really don't matter anymore, because if you don't have somewhere to live, then the washer and dryer is pretty insignificant. So I'm pointing some of this out because, to make it not a cavalier thought when someone explains to you that title insurance is optional for your protection. This protects your ownership. If you stay in that house 1 year or 30 years, it protects your ownership for as long as you own it at that one-time cost. Now, someone comes in and makes that claim and says, oh my gosh, there was a lien against this property that was not taken care of when you purchased the property. Well, you can go back and get hire an attorney to help you pursue those that could be responsible for that. The attorney alone is going to be very expensive and probably cost you a whole lot more than that title insurance policy costs. Good morning, Allison. Good morning, Melanie. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. So let's say your title insurance policy was $2,000 for the owner's coverage. Well, if that policy was $2,000 and you had to talk to an attorney for 3 different times, maybe an hour or 2 each, it could very well cost you $1,500 to $2,000 to talk to that attorney. An attorney that has, attorneys' costs are at different levels based on their experience, and it could be a $500 an hour conversation. And it may not just be the conversation, it may be some legwork that they need to do and those types of things. So this is one of those coverages that is absolutely something that you should never not do. Sometimes people, when you purchase things like a computer or a TV and they offer you a warranty, a lot of times people will say, well, I don't need that, it's not going to break. This is not one of those situations where you say, I don't need that, that's never going to happen to me. Particularly with the housing market changes that happened over the last 8 years, we see this more and more because of the foreclosures and things that were maybe missed or that needed to be addressed when ownership was transferred and haven't always been. Particularly also with the ability for criminals to be able to reproduce things and change things in the land records with documents, forged signatures, and all the different things that title insurance can cover for you. It's absolutely not an option not to protect your ownership. If you are considering not doing that, you're making a grave mistake, because you very well could be sitting in your home one late Sunday evening watching football, and hopefully your team is winning, and someone knocks on your door and says, hey, this is something that you need to address, that your ownership is in peril because there is a lien, a judgment. Let's say that maybe a owner next door has a right-of-way use over a piece of your property and you didn't realize it, and you put up a fence, or you relocated a building, maybe put a shed there, and it's right where their right-of-way should go. Yeah, you're going to have to move that. And so, again, title insurance steps in and takes care of some of these things. And as I said, the first call you do is to that title insurance company and say, hey, I have this problem, and their attorneys are immediately are getting on this and starting to address it for you. So not only do you not have to deal with the issue, but you also don't have to go find an attorney, go through those steps to take care of that problem for you. I mean, finding an attorney sometimes can be very daunting too. You got to find somebody who specializes in the issue that you're having, somebody that has some experience. You're going to have to do a little bit of legwork, and those are a lot of steps of your own that you don't have to do as well. So the difference between owners and lenders title insurance is the lenders covers the loan amount. So as the loan amount goes down, the amount of coverage goes down. So just because your lender has title insurance doesn't mean that that protects you as well. If you start at, let's say you bought your house this week and you purchased a $200,000 house and the lender loaned you $195,000, you have $5,000 equity in there. And let's say over the next year, the housing market changes as it's been doing. It's getting really active, and home prices increase. And as they increase, that means your equity goes up, which is a wonderful thing. So let's say next year your house is worth $210,000. Well, now you have $15,000 in equity that's not protected. So that doesn't sound like, wow, maybe I don't need that because I don't need that protection. I don't have that much money into it. And as I've said, you very easily could accumulate equity, not only just by making your payments, but also by the housing market changes. And that's your money. And if something happens and that ownership is compromised, you want to make sure that your money is protected. So there's a little bit of differences about title insurance and why it matters. Some people will tell you, owner's title insurance is optional. You don't need that. It's an additional cost at closing that you may not be thinking that you need. Absolutely not. I have seen a lot of things because I've been doing this for a long time, so I never would go without getting title insurance when I purchased a piece of property. But likewise, anybody I know and talk to, I'm always explain to them the absolute imperative nature that title insurance brings. So hopefully that gave you a little bit of insight about that. We've been trying to talk about some different things that could come up in the title. And we're going to talk more about that this week, some things that could affect that ownership and some things that you may see that are just everyday things that you wouldn't even think about that could affect your ownership. So hopefully that helped you a little bit today. Hope you guys are having an awesome day. Phil, thanks so much for tuning in. Good morning, Miss Bridget. How are you today? Thank you guys for your time so much. I really appreciate it. I wanted to tell you a couple of things that we have going on. Good morning, Jeannie. How are you? One of my title colleagues, I think in New York right now. So good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. I wanted to tell you about a couple things we have going on. We just launched last week a new calculator on our website. So if you're thinking, gosh, I want to buy a house, how are my costs going to look? Now, it will not tell you what your lender's charges are going to be, but it will tell you the recording costs based on where you want to be purchasing a piece of property. It will tell you what the title insurance will cost. You just have to plug in a few things. So there's all kinds of information on there that you can do. Go to our website, www.footetitlegroup.com. In the top right-hand corner on any page, there's like a starburst and it says cost calculator. You click on that, plug in some information. You do have to register. It's not a place where we are gathering information and emailing you or spamming or anything else. It's just you have to register so you can save information and make changes. So go in there and check that out. It's a great tool that we've already gotten a huge amount of feedback on that helps a lot. You can actually save your quote and go back in and look at it. You can make adjustments to it. So there's great information in there on that. Also on our website on the resources page, lots and lots of information there. We've talked about home buyer's guide, home seller's guide, planning your move checklist, what to do when you're buying a new home, the sample documents book, which I know I talk about all the time, but this is just a huge help, and I don't think there's another resource out there like that. Very simply, it is 50 of the most common documents you may see at your home closing, because when you're sitting there at closing, sometimes it's a little overwhelming to actually get a chance to read those documents, and there's so many things going on at that home closing. So this gives you the opportunity to look at some of those in advance. Disclaimer, they are not exactly what you're going to sign at closing, but really darn close in most cases. And last but not least, I wanted to remind you that we are super excited. We're doing an interactive webinar on November 15th. I'm doing it at 7 o'clock in the evening. That's a Tuesday evening. We're doing it at 7 p.m. because I know there's so many of you out there that don't have the ability to log in during the day. It's interactive. The 5 most important things you need to know for your home closing. I would love to have you on. You got to get registered though, because the space is limited and we are filling up very quickly. So get in there and register for that. It will be interactive. You can talk, you can ask questions, you can talk to others and share stories. So that'll be really great. It'll be from 7 to 8 p.m. on Tuesday, November 15th. The invite is on our Facebook page, Foote Title Group's Facebook page. It's also in our other social media channels, and there has been an email going out, and it's on our website. So you can go on there and click on there. So hopefully all of that helps you with information if you're thinking about buying a home, or you have a home closing coming up, or you know somebody that has. And the other thing I want you to do is please, please, please share this video. If you have taken the time to listen to me today, there's probably somebody else out there that would like to know this information as well, and I can't get to them. So I really appreciate your time. Good morning, Larry. How are you? It's been a long time since I've talked to you. Thanks for tuning in. So hopefully that gave you a little bit of information about protecting your home ownership and about the difference between the lender's protection and your protection. And if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me, Connie at footetitlegroup.com. You can go to our website and you can reach any of our team members in Maryland or Virginia. And we're always happy to help you with whatever you need. So I hope you guys are having an awesome day. I look forward to talking to you again soon. And thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Connie Fuchs with Foote Title Group, where we protect your home ownership. Have a great day, everybody.